Is it going? Okay, so basically at this point, I would just give a brief introduction, 2 to 3 minutes, of course, just a brief explanation of ABA therapy in itself, and then just talk about how historically it's usually a face-to-face interaction, and that in lieu of recent advances in technology, it is believed that traditional approaches to ABA therapy will soon be replaced by technology. The participants in this debate are split into two groups. The pro group argues that the use of technology in ABA is a great way to bring services to previously isolated individuals, get information from experts in their field, and is a great tool for increasing social skills. The pro group states that the security risks are a violation of the HIPAA and the ethic codes, questions the validity of using technology as means of improving social skills, and has concerns about the effect of video supervision on IOA and treatment fidelity. With us today, we have Julia, Tony, Nick, Jessica, myself, and Corey. We're gonna start the debate off with the first point, which is security of technology-based services. So I would like to introduce you to Nick Dads.
Hi. In recent histories, we have had attacks that have come from a bored teenager who is just exploring the dark net and the internet to professional hackers who do this for a living, for whether for activism or for personal gain. And a lot of times when it comes to HIPAA breaches, they tend to be more towards the personal gain aspect. But a couple years ago, HIPAA was not prepared for this updated technology, and their cybersecurity protocols were, quite frankly, pretty lax. Recently, they have enacted 2 new protocols titled High Tech and Omnibus. They're recent additions to HIPAA, and basically it requires companies and other individuals who fall under the HIPAA code to levels of encryption on all data be launched to client information, data storage, company laptops. Everything has to have a higher level of encryption than they ever have in the past. There's also been reported breaches have also gone down because through High Tech and Omnibus, there's been a found correlation between these 2 new additions and the decrease in reported electronic breaches from 2015 or from 2014 to 2015. The breaches were ranged around 1,676, but in the 2015 year in its entirety, there were only 222 breaches found being the result of a hack or other form of technological breach. So that has obviously gone down, and that is found to be a direct correlation of the Omnibus and high-tech protocols. So obviously, while it was a problem a few years ago, through these new things, HIPAA has been updated, and HIPAA has much higher security, which has led to more more information and involved with it. And then this is the part where I have a visual and a link on the PowerPoint that says, hey, this is a link to the list of basically every breach that happened in 2015. What was the other thing I was going to talk about? I'm sure there's something else I'm going to talk about. Okay. So, yeah, that's my point. Thank you, Jessica.
Should I wait for Jessica to introduce myself, or should I just jump in?
I was on mute.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, in the event.
I think she was trying to.
Yeah, I was muted, but I feel like in the event, like we should definitely be ready for me to goof up. Anyway,
were you, sorry, real quick, were you guys there when Julia and I discovered that the chat function actually doesn't make a noise and doesn't show up on the screen?
Oh, wow.
So if you're doing this, we can actually send messages back and forth to each other. Yeah, see, it'll pop up on person's picture thing to like, or something like that.
Good. That'll also be good for like our timing. I can let you guys know if you're getting close or running over.
Good idea. All right, do you want to introduce me and we'll keep going?
Yes, so with the rebuttal to that point, we have Julia for the con side.
All right, as a special education teacher, I recognize that HIPAA has done a lot to increase security over the past few years. And as Nick mentioned, it has helped a lot. However, their technology is constantly developing, and I think that we can't let our guard down in regard to confidentiality of electronic health information. I think one of the big problems, and this is supported through a number of articles, is that a lot of health services and community services people use their personal devices, and it's a personal iPhone or a tablet, and those types of things are not as secure as a computer that has encryption software to protect people's electronic health information. So there's a large risk as healthcare professionals use their phones and other electronic devices. There's also a consideration for the penalties that criminals receive when illegally accessing the personal electronic health information, as federal laws are not quite strong enough to dissuade criminals who really are looking to use that to get that information. They're going to get it anyways, because these federal laws are a little bit lax still. They have not been updated as much as they could be to really keep criminals from pursuing getting this information from the public. I don't know what else you want me to say. I can also talk about how a lot of places, if we're using electronic devices, are using public Wi-Fi or unsecure networks. And so unless there have been specific networks set up to be used if you're doing an in-home care or at the center where the services are being delivered, then that is also unsecure and would be an easy way for people who should not have access to the confidential information to gain access. So this is related strongly to the ethics code of maintaining confidentiality, and it's a giant concern as technology becomes stronger and more and more services involve electronic communication.
Okay, so thank you, Julia. The next point that we're going to touch on is whether or not technology can act as a substitute for special education professionals. We have Tony for the pro side.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tony, and I'm a BCBA, and I've been in the field for about 2 years now. And part of our ethics code is to advocate and educate our clients about the most effective treatments. And that is ethics code number 2.09. And several comparative studies have indicated and showed that there are benefits for children with autism, such as increased motivation, decreased inappropriate behavior, and increased attention when they're using a computer-based program as compared to other traditional methods. And in this, I will be referencing several studies that have conducted these research, and it has shown positive results for technology as a substitute for special education professionals. In a study conducted by Chin and Bernard Opitz, they compared live personal instruction to computer-assisted instruction and found better motivation and fewer problem behaviors with assisted for 3 out of the 4 participants. And there weren't any significant differences in the rate of learning for both sides, but for the children that were using computer-based program, the results showed that these children or these clients were more motivated while using the computer-based program, and a lot of the behaviors were reduced while they're being taught through this learning tool. And in a study conducted by Moore and Calvert, they compared computerized instructions with a lower tech behavioral program for vocabulary instruction for children with autism. They found that the autistic children were more attentive when they were being presented with, when the vocabulary instructions were being presented through a computer-based program. They also found that the participants learned more vocabulary actually through the computer-based program than when they were being when as compared to a live instructor. Another study by William Wright and colleague showed their study also support that the efficacy of computer-based program compared to traditional methods. 5 out of the 8 children with autism were able to identify 3 or more words when other methods such as live instruction and all the other types of other methods were used, and they failed to promote these gains. And right now I would show a video clip of the study that showed that this student was able to pick up emotional recognition and identify facial recognition in other people through using a computer-based program and being able to apply it to real-world situations. That's it.
Do we want to try that video just to make sure that it works the right way?
Can you play the video, Nick?
Is it the one you have in the PowerPoint? Tony, is it the one you have in the PowerPoint?
Yes, that's right. It's the one on the PowerPoint.
Okay, that's just an image. So it's not the actual video.
I just put a link instead. Would that work? Oops, I messed up. Oops. Oh no, actually, if you click on the thing, it works.
Oh, it's click where?
Yeah, that picture, actually, if you click on it, there's a little box on the right left-hand corner. If you click on that, it will play the video.
Oh, there it goes. There it goes.
There you go.
We're good.
Oh, your video is muted, Nick.
Can you guys hear it?
No. Can you hear it?
And hold on.
No, no sound.
It plays for me on the Google Docs.
Interacting with the takeaway message from the research is basically using.
Do you guys hear it?
I hear it.
Facial expressions and possibly each other.
Is that all of it?
How long is that video?
So, right.
What was that?
Oh, let's just go to the next person.
Okay.
I think it'd be okay to try to figure this out though, because we can't.
Yeah, I
do
think
it
we need to figure the video out. I'm
I was
also
about to-
wondering how long it is.
It's about 2 minutes long, right?
Yeah, it's 2 minutes.
Okay, so that's actually going to make your section, Tony, like 4 minutes long.
Is that too much?
Okay.
Oh wait, the video. Okay.
It depends on how long everybody else talks.
Well, it seems like we're really, really good on time, so the video I think would be okay.
Cool. Okay.
I think it's a nice addition if it works, but we need to make sure we can get it smoothly.
Yeah.
One thing I will say, in the event that this occurs again or something else occurs, I think there should be like a brief description of the video, just to kind of talk about it while we're setting it up.
All right, I'll get that together.
Right now.
Technical difficulties.
I mean, we can go on to the next person just as in like practice mode, but before we finish recording, we should try it like talk, video, talk.
Yeah.
I'm in the process of going through a bunch of troubleshooting. Keep going.
Okay, we can keep going just for the sake of practicing like the script or whatever, but like you said, we do need to figure that out.
That's trippy.
Do you guys want to keep going or you want me to wait?
Go ahead and keep going, but before we finish, we'll come back to it.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Next, we have Miss Corey, who is actually a parent of a child with special needs, and she will be representing the con side.
Thank you, Jessica. Tony brought up some really good points. However, I have found that when discussing the use of technology to teach social skills, there are actually relatively limited studies that show that generalization can occur. There are also quite a few studies that show that in order to successfully teach someone, incidental teaching needs to occur and the entire environment needs to be assessed. And this is really hard to do when you're talking about something that's computer-based, to assess the entire environment. One very critical thing involving technology, especially from the viewpoint of a parent, is its cost. The cost of an iPad right now is at least $300. The cost of communicative software to go on that iPad, such as Proloquo to Go, is another $250. There are quite a few families that need this technology that live in rural and remote areas. And in fact, those people living in the rural and remote areas, they're probably the most likely to be the folks that we're talking about today. They're the ones with limited access to special education teachers, limited access to BCBAs, and they're also the ones most likely to have limited access to technology and to perhaps not even be able to afford the cost of technology. I have a slide that shows, and it's just a representation of an area in Alaska, and my family and I are from Alaska, so it's pretty near and dear to our heart. But if you look at that slide and look at the figures, you'll see that A family living in rural Alaska can hardly afford to feed themselves, with milk being $9 a gallon and heating fuel being over $7 or $8 a gallon. There is no way that they can afford $300 for an iPad, $250 for Proloquo to Go, and then on top of that, the high cost of internet access. A lot of school districts have this technology that they can give to students to use at school. They can be practicing their social skills at school. They might be able to communicate at school. But then we have that ethical dilemma of what happens after school. We give a child a way to communicate while they're at school, and then they come home, and as parents, we can't talk to them. They have no voice. They have no way to take those social skills that they are learning about in school and generalize them to their home or to their friends, because they don't have that same kind of technology here. So it is the opinion of me as a parent that relying too heavily on technology actually creates yet an additional ethical dilemma for how do we ensure that kids especially have continued access to this equipment, and it's not just available to them when they're in a school setting where somebody can afford to pay for it. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, Corey. Next, we're going to move on to our third point, which is technology allowing for treatment fidelity and effective treatment. I'm actually going to be representing the pro argument on this point. And I strongly believe that the use of teleconferencing can help increase treatment fidelity and bring ABA services to areas of the world where access is very limited. There are several findings that indicate telepractice is a viable form of service delivery, and that it can enhance the quality of services by making assessments, interventions, and consultations available to individuals in these geographically remote areas. It can also help with reducing scheduling conflicts, travel time, and maximizing the utility of material resources. Of course, very high integrity is needed for families to achieve the highest level of success for telepractice treatments. Poor integrity could result in greater resistance to the effects, of course. There are strictly enforced policies and procedures recommended for assessing individual need, confidentiality, technology, training, and documentation within a telepractice program. I've also read that the goal of these policies is to enhance the quality, quantity, and accessibility of service for individuals with autism. Technological competence is pivotal in the successful delivery of telepractice. An established standardized protocol maximizes the reliability and effectiveness of remote service delivery. Some other things to take into consideration are the technical requirements, the standards, the quality standards, supplementary equipment and resources, as well as monitoring student progress, the quality assurance, and training and IT support for staff. That's something that I'll touch on more. I just haven't quite fixed that. And now we will hear about the opposing argument. Is that going to be from Julia or Corey?
Julia, you have point one. I think I have point two.
Okay, so I'll go first then.
Okay.
Right. Okay, thank you, Jessica. Those are good points. However, we need to consider the dosage of case supervision requirements according to the Applied Behavior Analysis Treatment of Autism Spectrum Disorder practice guidelines. And these require for every 10 hours of treatment, there needs to be 2 hours of direct supervision. And this is a minimum. There may be cases where even more supervision is necessary. When this supervision case ratio is not met, then it's outside of guidelines, and that could result in barriers to the client's progress, as well as barriers in regards to generalization and transitions of what the student or client is learning without the consultant actually being present. there are a lot of factors that could go unnoticed or could be overlooked, and that could greatly impact treatment.
And I would just like to chime in and follow what Julia was saying. There are studies out there that show that in assessing the environment and understanding the environment, especially as they relate to antecedents, is critical in whether or not a reinforcement is going to be effective. So if we cannot see the entire environment, as is evidented in this slide that will come up on the screen here, it is very difficult to assess what else is going on in the environment. If you look at the picture that will eventually be on the screen, you'll see an older gentleman with gray hair, and on the bottom you'll see another little box. This represents the use of a webcam. So in this picture, what you see is the view of the smaller picture. You see the view of the older gentleman. We can't see what's in front of him. We can't see what's next to him or behind him. And we don't have any idea really what happened to him prior to coming in that room. This same situation can be applied to using webcams or video teleconferencing to provide ABA therapies. The BCBA has no idea what else is in that room with the child. The child's very, very favorite thing could be just behind that webcam so that the BCBA can't see it. The child might have eaten 10 donuts earlier in that day, so they are completely satiated on what would have normally been their primary reinforcer. You don't know that when you're trying to do therapy over video teleconferencing. The only thing you have to go on is what the other parents or whomever else is in the environment has told you, and those reports might not always be very accurate. So I would say that there's quite a bit that we need to do before this becomes something that is definitely a viable option for people.
Thank you very much, Corey and Julia. This is, I guess, the conclusion of our debate. I want to thank everybody who participated. Everybody made very valid, strong points. To close out our debate, we are going to be answering some questions that we've gotten. So at this point, I guess we should figure out who's going to do what, and I'll read off the question, and then that person will have a turn to answer, and we'll just go from there. So let's see. The first question is, for those who live in rural parts of the country, wouldn't ABA services provided over the web be better than nothing?
All right, so I really came up with that question because I seriously have that question. So anybody can jump in here.
I mean, I'm not really ready for an answer right now, but I can definitely have one. So I guess I'll take over that. Let's see. The second question is, what resources are available to compensate for high expenses of technology and related support?
Well, Jessica, I can give a brief answer on that. There are quite a few grants that are available to families to purchase this technology. Quite a few mini grants too. I know that in the state of Alaska, there are a plethora of grants available to families. The only problem, again, speaking from the con side, is that the families, their child has to be developmentally disabled before they will qualify for these grants. And that can sometimes take 6 to 8 months, if not longer, to get that diagnosis. And it also requires that the child have a neuropsych eval. And when you live rural and remote, oftentimes that requires multiple days worth of travel. And those expenses are not always covered by your insurance company. So yes, grants are absolutely available, but there are quite a few hoops to jump through in order to get those grants.
That was perfect. We'll definitely assign you to that. Our next question is, will my child automatically apply the social skills learned from computer-based programs to real-world interactions?
I don't have an answer to that yet, but I'll take that question.
Okay, cool. So the next question would be, are computer-based programs effective as a learning tool in reinforcement while being used at the same time on the same device?
Excuse me, Jessica, I've had multiple conversations with BCBAs that I work with here in Alaska just recently regarding this topic. And they have all told me that they have a very challenging experience using technology for both the reinforcement and in order to teach skill and use this communication software. Their experience has been that once a child figures out that the technology they have, be it an iPad or a computer, can be used for recreation, that it is incredibly difficult to then have that child use it to learn a social skill or to use for communication. And what's happening, at least from the viewpoint of the BCBAs I've talked to, is that parents will take away that technology as a punishment, so to speak, and then the child is left with no voice. So this again creates another ethical dilemma, and further research, I believe, needs to happen in order to figure out how exactly this should work.
Okay, thank you, Corey. Next question is, you hear a lot on the news about hackers getting into databases and stealing information. How will my information be protected?
That one. Oh yeah, I'll take that one. Basically, I just go back over Omnibus High Tech, and it also, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to throw this really 10 times more breaches off. It's like 10 times more than electronic breaches. So.
Alrighty.
I'll come up with some. I'll come up with better.
Okay. Last but not least, I tried to limit the amount of time my child spends on electronic devices. Can interventions be conducted without using an iPad or a computer?
Okay, well, obviously there are many interventions that don't use an iPad or computer, and if this is a concern for you or your family, it would be good to bring this up with the individuals and professionals who are working with your child. Although because a lot of people are interested in the most recent technology, a lot of people go straight to using the iPad or computer devices. However, there are many interventions that can be done either face-to-face, or even a parent can begin to implement some things at home with the advice of their either special education teacher or BCBA. So this using technology is not the only option for children who are receiving ABA services or children with disabilities.
Alrighty, and that basically concludes our debate. So I'll come up with some fancy conclusion, just thanking everybody and just giving like another brief summary just to close out.
All right, so just for my own clarification, when I'm talking and I'm referencing the slides, should I be pulling them up at the same time, or does that need to happen somewhere else?
I just looked into a whole bunch of that. The best way for us to do that is to make sure it gets pulled up on your own. So that way it's not. So do you guys know how to do that?
I'm trying it right now to make sure that I can figure out how this works.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you guys real quick.
And I might need to pull, well, my problem is, and oh shoot, there it goes again. My internet is so glitchy here that it gets seriously loading right now and I can't see. Oh, there's your face again. That's just how glitchy my internet is. And I'm concerned that it's going to get stuck.
I did that. I did that.
No, like I can't even load the page right now. The technology debate visuals just came up now and I tried to load them like 3 minutes ago.
So I'm still cutting in and out.
So if I click on this and then I click share, is that what makes it work? Let's see.
It's the green
What?
button that says share.
What is this stuff? Oh, get shareable link? I'm so confused.
So like, ooh, maybe you guys don't have this because I'm the one who's doing the broadcast. Okay, so if you move your mouse onto the actual screen, there should be something that moves over from the left, and it's
Screen
like
share.
a chat box, a green box that has an arrow on it. Can you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I can see
I
it.
can't
So if
share
I-
my screen because it'll just do the infinite. If you
If I
click the
click-
green one,
Uh-huh.
that's the screen share button, and then a whole bunch of boxes should pop up.
I'm not getting any boxes.
I wish I could screen share this, but when I screen
Yeah,
share it,
I click, I find a little green box with the arrow in it like you're talking about, and I click on it and nothing happens.
Yeah, that's
Hold
weird.
on.
You guys said
weird.
the same thing?
Mine, no,
Weird.
that thing works for me. That's why. It's kind of weird. Maybe you can
because
close it and
we couldn't.
Oh, and now my chat thing
Wait,
just
sorry, what?
died.
I think that the reason that the audio wasn't working for us or because I was playing it. So hold on, let me see if I can play that real quick because that'll just be one less thing we have to figure out, and then we can. Maybe I have to take my headphones off.
Is there supposed to be a video now? Because I see nothing.
Yeah, I've got a black screen too. That's weird. Am I trying to share this? I don't even know what I'm doing. I hope I didn't screw it up because I have no idea how to fix it. Technology's like my arch enemy.
do we need to still be recording right now?